Inspiration. Composite, Clockwise, LR, Getty ImagesMy. Challenge for this was how do I introduce this sense of futurism, but then also incorporate the 60s vibe I kept seeing in my brain. Immediately, I started thinking about Twiggy, a deep side part, a Jean Shrimpton-like shape, and that roundness those styles had in the 60s. I wanted it to feel like it was a bob in the front but have a real simplicity of a basic ponytail in the back that wasn't fussy. It wasn't an updo. It wasn't anything that we really had seen on the red carpet before. So my inspiration was really pulled from a lot of 60s hairstyles and icons, which had me thinking of roundness, thinking of deep side parts, thinking of Idol Sassoon in a way, like how he was the antithesis of his time. When everybody was doing these big hairdos, he wanted to do the exact opposite. But I also took into consideration what she was wearing, both the silhouette and the fabric. This applies to people at home. You have to think about what you're wearing when asking yourself, would this hairstyle work for me? Gwyneth's dress had a strong slice right at the front that felt like it was going on an angle, so I softened it by going the opposite way, with the hair along the forehead. And because of the sleekness of the fabric, I didn't want to add any more texture to the hair, because I wanted it to mimic the fluidity of the cape and the dress. Anne Hathaway, Met Gala 2018. Getty Images. This was last year's Met Gala and the theme was Catholicism and fashion. I immediately started thinking, how do I bring this theme into the hairstyle without having to use an accessory? I had a feeling that everyone who was going to call in accessories and everyone would be wearing some sort of crown. So I went to Annie, and I spoke to her about the concept. I explained to her that I didn't want her to look like she was part of the Catholic Church, that I wanted the style itself to be very classic, but that I wanted to use an accessory, but something that was found and not bought or made specifically for that purpose. And most importantly, I wanted it to feel more like an aura around her. Inspiration. Composite, Clockwise, LR, courtesy of Adir Abergel. Getty Images, Getty Images, Getty Images. So I started pulling all of these images from my brain. The first that came to mind was all of these images from old Jean-Paul Gaultier shows, which were such an inspiration for me. I remember them using feathers and all of these different kinds of materials that were not necessarily traditional hair accessories. And then looking at those images got me thinking of these porcupine quills I had collected while traveling. So that's what those spikes are. They're porcupine quills from my personal collection that spray-painted gold. I styled her hair in a beautiful French twist and then I just stuck the quills, which were all different shapes and sizes, through the twist. Do you remember when you were in school and you would take a pen and put it through your hair? That was basically how I did it. The end result was very, very, very clean, but then she had this sort of beautiful, abstract halo around her. I liked that it wasn't so literal and that when you looked at her, you just felt light around her. Stella Maxwell, Met Gala 2018. Getty Images. Met Gala was incredibly busy for me last year. So when I saw Stella's dress, I immediately thought, okay, what would make this interesting rather than just pulling it back and, again, using some kind of an accessory? So I started thinking about Victorian and Edwardian times and all of these women who basically grew out their hair for the sake of feminism, but also for the sake of religious purposes and divinity. And I mean, even now, so many of the extensions and the pieces that we get are from women who grow out their hair for religious purposes. Inspiration. Composite, LR, courtesy of Adir Abergel. Getty Images, courtesy of Adir Abergel. Getty Images.